you should have some confidence that the plane your loved ones are on will not vanish into thin air.
There's a little part of us that's missing right now. Every day is a reminder of my husband because, when I see my children, he's there. And when I see my grandson, he's there.
Almost every March, families of MH370 passengers come to the Malaysian capital to grieve together.
We just don't want them to be forgotten. We have to remember them.
Jaquita Gonzalez says families like hers have waited too long for answers.
There should be a search until we find the plane. I know it's costly, but then again, don't let it be a mystery.
Next of kins, ladies and gentlemen.
Then, last Sunday, a breakthrough. Malaysia's Transport Minister revealed he's ready to talk to American company Ocean Infinity about a new search for MH370.
And I will meet them anytime that they are ready to come to Malaysia. I will do everything possible to get the Cabinet's approval to sign a new contract with Ocean Infinity for the search to resume as soon as possible.
Ten years ago, Australia had a key role in the first underwater mission to find the lost Boeing 777.
2 months after MH370 disappeared, the Australian Transport Safety Bureau was chosen to lead the underwater search in the southern Indian Ocean. That $200 million operation failed to find any sign of the missing aircraft. Now, a senior member of the search team is speaking out. He says the ATSB ignored warnings it may have been searching in the wrong place.
I had no confidence whatsoever that the aircraft would be found.
Good night, Malaysia 370.
This was the last contact with the pilot of MH370, Captain Zahari Ahmed Shah. About 20 minutes later, the transponder was turned off. After 2 hours, the plane was out of radar range. Satellite data later established that MH370 flew for another 6 hours before it ran out of fuel over the southern Indian Ocean.
One of really the great unknowns actually is what happened at the end of flight. Was the pilot still alive, and did he potentially glide the aircraft and undertake a controlled ditch? Or was he no longer at control? Had he already died, and was it an uncontrolled crash?
The ATSB was searching based on a theory that the plane spiraled out of control and crashed into the ocean when it ran out of fuel. But a growing number of experts now say that the plane may have glided into the ocean, taking it outside the original search zone. Naval officer Peter Waring joined the search in 2014, 2 months after it began. An expert in surveying and mapping seafloors, Peter Waring would report regularly to decision-makers in Canberra.
Everyone was very hopeful, I think really confident, in fact, that they'd find the aircraft, that the search strategy that they had and that they were seeking to pursue was the right one, and that it was really only a matter of time until the seabed gave up its secrets.
As days turned to months, Peter Waring began to have serious doubts about some of the ATSB's conclusions.
The search team started to think, well, perhaps the end-of-flight scenario that we were working with was wrong, was incorrect. But when that conversation reached certain levels at the ATSB, it was shot down by various individuals.
If Peter Waring was right, it meant they'd been searching in the wrong place.
Did we spend too long looking in a place where we increasingly knew the aircraft wasn't? And the answer to that is absolutely yes.
He believes the agency in charge wasn't up to the task.
You know, if a Cessna runs off a runway somewhere in Port Lincoln, the ATSB go and do that. They're not the sort of organisation that should be running a search of this scale, to be perfectly frank. And it just simply was the wrong agency.
The ATSB is a world-leading agency when it comes to transport investigations and is recognised as that. I think any criticism of the ATSB's professionalism has no basis.
So you reject that criticism?
Absolutely. It's an easy target. You know, the last phases of flight can expand that search area considerably.
Angus Mitchell is Chief Commissioner of the Australian Transport Safety Bureau.
Whilst we think of a 777 being a large aircraft, when you put it in comparison to the Indian Ocean, it's not at all. This area represents something like twice the size of Tasmania.
Angus Mitchell stands by the ATSB's original assessment that the plane was out of control when it crashed into the ocean.
The ATSB is an evidence-based organisation. That evidence led us to where the search area was, and that evidence is still valid today.
What needs to happen, in your view, to justify a new search?
In the event of new and credible evidence, then potentially there'd be consideration for relaunching the investigation or the search. Now, that hasn't been triggered at this point in time, and until that is triggered, then I'll go on concentrating on the 100 active investigations I've got on my books.
When do we get to move on? We don't. We are stuck in this ambiguous loss.
There's nothing Danica Weeks wants more than a new search for the missing plane. Her husband Paul was on a business trip when their two boys were just toddlers.
Every day you wake up, is today the day? We're going to find them, we're going to find them. And then when they stop searching, you go, oh, what hope do we have now? 10 years on, we are still at day dot. And it angers me. I am so angry.
Over the past decade, aviation experts around the world have worked to unlock this mystery.
As much as you analyze, you discover more. And even today, we've got new information and we dig, and the more you dig, the more you discover.
The first speaker is Jean-Luc Marchand.
Brussels-based analyst Jean-Luc Marchand and his research partner examined every bit of flight data related to MH370.
We have to stay humble until the wreckage is found. Nobody knows. So what we present...
Their findings differ from the ATSB's conclusion that the pilot was not in control at the end of the flight.
ATSB had taken a route, and now, you know, we are showing, we are demonstrating that actually it is not the most likely. The most likely is that somebody on board has the full control of the aircraft. This is the final part of the trajectory.
The French experts provided a new search zone to Ocean Infinity, which conducted the last underwater search. They also sent their findings to the Malaysian government.
We are just outside what has been already searched. And this explains why the search has been, for us, the search have not been successful. This zone could be searched within, as I said, 5 to 7 days, and this one altogether within 12, 15 days.
It was one of the most complex searches in history, and it covered such a range of possibilities that had to be considered when trying to narrow down that area. Now, tragically, it failed to find the aircraft, but it doesn't mean that the information that was available, the analysis that was done by people around the globe, wasn't the best analysis that could be done at the time.
There's never been a public discussion about the failure, and it's a failure that the Australian government should take some responsibility for, but it's a failure of how governments make decisions and try and solve problems, and that should interest everyone, really.
Were we searching in the right place? You know, that is the question. My biggest frustration, and especially 10 years on, and especially with my two beautiful, strong, resilient boys that have gone through this, it's just so hard because I can't tell them the truth of what happened. And they deserve that.